as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining me on Stockbox today is Richard Williams, the CEO of Cornish Metals, listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange and soon to be listed on the London AIM market. Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be talking to you about a company down in Cornwall, which I certainly have some family history down there. It's the first time that I'm even aware of a listed company operating in Cornwall, and I believe you have quite a few projects. Shall we perhaps start with a general overview of the company and the projects that you have?
Sure. Well, I joined Cornish Metals in 2015. At that time, it was called Strongbow Exploration. And the mandate at the time was to look for high quality tin projects in good jurisdictions. And we looked at various opportunities, but the standout for us was the South Crofty tin project located in Cambone Pool. We work on acquiring a package of projects, including South Crofty. And we completed the acquisition of those assets in July 2016. We spent the first few years advancing the South Crofty project through various permitting phases, planning permission to build a new process plant, working with the Environment Agency to secure the permit to dewater the mine. And at the same time, about a year ago, there was the discovery of new high-grade copper and tin mineralization at a different project called United Downs, which is about 8 kilometers as the crow flies to the east of South Crofty. And that provided us with quite a bit of excitement. Discovery of near surface high-grade copper certainly caught the imagination of investors in the exploration world. And we saw that as an opportunity to list the company on AIM. It's always been an objective of ours to get exposure to the UK market. And this new discovery has proven to be a catalyst to do that. So we're on the verge of hopefully completing an AIM listing, and hopefully we'll be trading on AIM in the next couple of weeks.
In the next 2 weeks, that's great. And of course, I noticed this week as well that you completed quite a substantial raise on the TSX market.
Yes, we announced what's called the intention to float early in January. And we've been working with SP Angel and Hanneman Partners in London as joint brokers to raise some money as part of the AIM listing. And the whole process went extremely well. And we announced last week a combination £8 million raised through Hanneman and SP Angel, and an additional just over £200,000 through a platform called Minexia.
Let's talk about the project. So South Crofty, that's been going for quite a long time, hasn't it? And of course it's tin, but you've also discovered some polymetallic copper and zinc. So what is the history around South Crofty and the market for tin? And of course, how do you feel that it also has copper and zinc values as well?
South Crofty on a global context is what we would call a world-class deposit. Certainly from a tin perspective, it's the amalgamation of what historically was a collection of 26 different underground mines. They've all been consolidated into one kind of mining permit area now. And you've got mineralized structures that were mined in some places continually over what we call a strike length, which is laterally along surface, over a distance of 4 to 5 kilometers. And in some cases, they were mined from surface to a depth of about a kilometer below surface and are still in tin mineralization. So what we take from that is that you've got very extensive mineralization that supported underground mining operations to significant depths. And that's always a good indicator that you've got high grade mineralization that can support deep mining activities. So when we looked at South Crofty, what stood out for us was here you've got a mine that operated for over 400 years. When the tin price collapsed in 1985, most of the hard rock tin mines around the world closed down because of the low prevailing price. But South Crofty managed to continue operating for another 13 years in very difficult market conditions and was the last tin mine to close in the UK. And when we looked at the available data, it was clear to see that what was left was still a high-grade mineral resource. But more importantly, from our key investors, which was a Canadian group called Cisco Gold Royalties, what we were looking for was a project that could potentially be a long life mine again. And when you look at the areas that were mined on the mine and what the potential was to find additional mineral resources, we saw that South Crofty could potentially be a mine for hopefully decades to come. So that was the standout from South Crofty's perspective. Also importantly, in today's world, when putting mines into production, permitting can take a long time. We had an opportunity here to take on an asset that had a newly issued mine permit, which was granted in 2013 and is still valid for another 50 years. We had conditional planning permission to build a new process plant. Those conditions have now been discharged. So we have full planning permission to build a process facility at South Crofty. And we now have permission to dewater the mine. So that allows us to make a decision to move into production fairly quickly compared to other projects at the development stage elsewhere in the world. What we've been waiting for really in the case of South Crofty is the supportive tin market. And we seem to be seeing that currently. Over the last year, you've seen the tin price rise from around $13,500 a ton, which is kind of the bottom that it reached at the height of the initial breakout of COVID. And recently we saw the tin price hit $25,000 a ton, which is the highest price it's seen for probably the last 8 years. And that's due to a number of factors, but I think principally is the growing demand for electronics, the electrification of various parts of global economies, and tin being essential to anything with an electrical connection. You've seen growing demand and obviously an impact on the tin price.
Okay, so that does bring me on to the market for tin. You say it's for using the electrical industry. So can you give me some examples of where it's used?
Well, basically anything with an electrical connection has tin. A very mundane application is basically solder. Historically, manufacturers would have used lead solder, but obviously lead is toxic. And the only suitable replacement is tin solder. So tin is actually referred to as the glue in the electronics industry. It's fundamental to anything with an electrical connection. And I think just in the last week, one of the big computer manufacturers, I think it was Lenovo, announced record computer sales, laptop sales, probably as a result of people working from home and requiring better computers, better connectivity. And this is having a knock-on effect into demand for tin. On top of that, just recently, you've got the coup that's going on in Myanmar, which is one of the world's bigger tin producers. And, you know, if we don't see a resolution to the situation in Myanmar, you could see the implementation of trade embargoes with Myanmar, which would obviously put a bit of a squeeze on tin supply as well. So it's really electrification, the push towards green economies, sustainability. Anything related to electrification is important to the tin world, and that's having a positive impact on the tin price.
Okay, great. So South Crofty then, a very historic mine, and it's sort of almost ready to go. There's a lot of infrastructure there, and I believe the mining license is valid for quite a few years. Is it 2072?
2071, almost. Yeah, so 50 years to go on that. One of the things that we need to do at South Crofty is to dewater the mine. It is flooded. So we did look at raising funds for that a couple of years ago, but the market just wasn't supportive at that point. We had a number of factors beyond our control. One was a much lower tin price. And so we didn't quite raise the funds we needed in 2019 to start dewatering the mine. And then about this time last year, one of our partners, a company called Cornish Lithium, was exploring for lithium at a nearby project we have called United Downs. And they intersected some near-surface high-grade copper and tin mineralization in a district that was historically known as a high-grade copper producer. So on the back of that, there was quite a bit of excitement, potential new discovery. So certainly the grades tie in with the historical accounts of what the high grades that were mined at operations called United Mine and Consolidated Mines. So over the last 6 months, we've been working with SP Angel and Hanneman Partners in this push to raise some money to go and see how big this new discovery could be and what it means for United Downs and hopefully what it means for bringing mining back to Cornwall.
Okay. That's great. And of course, the other project is Cornish Lithium. So that's a different commodity, but also used within electrification, particularly in electrification of vehicles and batteries. So what can you tell us about the Cornish Lithium project?
So when we acquired the Cornish assets in 2016, one of the first phone calls I had was from Jeremy Rathall, who had this very interesting idea that Cornwall was prospective for lithium in brines, similar to other parts of the world. And the reason for that, in very simplistic geological terms, is that you've got this extensive body of granitic rock that underlies most of Cornwall. And the granites have certain minerals in there which are rich in lithium. And you've had circulating waters running through the ground through fractures and faults over the last couple of 100 million years, which have the potential to leach that lithium, and then it would be concentrated along fractures in kind of geothermal waters. We reached an agreement with Cornish Lithium where they can explore all of our mineral rights throughout Cornwall for the lithium in brine potential. And they've been making great headway. I know they've done some work on some of the grades they've been getting from some of the deep drill holes have shown that there is lithium in the geothermal brines. They still need to do more work to look at whether or not it's economic to extract, but it's a very positive start. And they're now also turning their attention to lithium potential in hard rock occurrences, so it's associated with some of the granites in Cornwall.
Fantastic. Now, it's not obviously just Cornwall. You've also got some North American projects as well. That's
right. When I joined the company, there was one asset sitting in the company called Nickel King, and it's located in Nunavut in northern Canada. It's a nickel project, and obviously nickel is becoming more and more relevant as the demand for batteries for electric vehicles obviously grows. We have a mineral resource estimate on Nickel King, which has something in the order of 11 million tons indicated at around 0.39% nickel and another 33 million tons at similar grades. But it's got potential to be a lot larger. So I think there's some underlying value that's not being recognized in the market for that particular project. Also, we have a tin tungsten project in Alaska, which in some circles is recognized as the best tin project, certainly in the USA. And one of the dominant themes over the last couple of years has been security of supply for certain minerals. So tin and tungsten are designated as critical minerals and by the US Geological Survey, US government. And so we also see some opportunities there to as the tin price continues to grow and interest in the tin world sort of grows, maybe bringing in a partner to do some work on that project as well.
Okay. So it definitely sounds like all of your projects are in the electric industry, particularly maybe electric vehicles and batteries. So is that where you see the market for the projects that you're operating?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a real desire, certainly Western economies, to move towards carbon neutral economies and to source materials wherever possible domestically. Certainly the UK has aspirations to have its own battery sector, the electrification of basically everything in the economy that you can, renewable power. All of these things require tin, nickel, lithium, copper. So, the opportunity to be a contributor to the UK's domestic needs for both copper and tin and lithium is a real exciting opportunity for us.
Okay, great. Well, as you said earlier, you'll be listing on the London AIM hopefully very soon. What can investors look forward to? What's the roadmap? You mentioned that you'll be dewatering the South Crofty mine, but of course you've got the other projects as well, and you've just raised all that money. So how will that be put to use? What are the immediate next steps, Richard?
Well, we won't be dewatering South Crofty yet. The use of proceeds from the money that we are raising now is to go and drill initially a 1,000 meter long section of the new target at United Downs, and to see what the resource potential for that new high-grade copper tin discovery is. We've got additional targets on the United Downs project that we also look to test. And one of the ideas that we've been working on is that we have full planning permission for a process plant at South Crofty. So we've been looking at other mineral rights that we've got that are within reasonable transport distance of South Crofty, where we can also hope to find near surface copper and tin mineralization. So we've got another project to the west of South Crofty called Gwynia, which we'll be doing some initial work on. And there's also some tin occurrences just to the south of South Crofty, which we'd also take a look at. So we hope to be drilling late March, early April at United Downs, and the idea is to keep drilling for the bulk of this year. So from a market perspective, hopefully we'll have some very positive news with ongoing good grade copper and tin intersections from the drilling, and really get exposure to the UK market and the UK investment community, which I think will hopefully get behind what we're trying to do in Cornwall.
Okay. Well, Richard Williams there, the CEO of Cornish Metals, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.